She barged through my front door without even knocking, her heels stomping against the wooden floor like she owned the place. "You can't just live here without HOA approval," she barked, waving a clipboard filled with printed forms. I was still holding a fresh cup of coffee, staring at her like she'd just crawled out of the lake. Behind me in the living room, the state attorney general, yes, the attorney general, and was sitting in my leather chair, sipping tea and reviewing some documents I had laid out for him. He glanced up, one eyebrow raised, but didn't say a word. Karen clearly hadn't noticed him yet. She was too busy poking her finger into my chest and yelling about mandatory inspection fees and illegal renovations. I kept my voice calm. "Karen, this is my land. You don't have jurisdiction here." That's when she spotted the man in the suit behind me. Her tone changed instantly, but not in the way I expected. "Oh, good. You're here to help me file charges against him," she said, looking right at the attorney general. I swear the silence in that room could have made the lake freeze over. The attorney general leaned forward slowly, setting his cup down. "Charges?" he asked, his voice low. Karen crossed her arms. "Yes, he's violating HOA code and refuses to pay fines. I demand you arrest him or shut down his cabin." The attorney general's lips curled into the faintest smirk. "Ma'am, do you even know whose cabin this is?" Karen blinked, suddenly unsure. "Some squatter?" That's when I saw it. The exact second she realized she had just picked the wrong fight. The attorney general stood, straightened his jacket, and said, "This cabin is state-protected property, and he's the one who helped me get it that way." Her face drained of color, but instead of backing off, she pointed at me again and said, "I don't care who he knows. The HOA has rules." The attorney general chuckled under his breath and looked at me. "I assume you have the paperwork?" I smiled. Oh, I had more than paperwork, but I wasn't going to show it, not yet. The best part was still coming. Karen's eyes darted between us, trying to figure out why the attorney general wasn't already on her side. She stepped forward like she was about to seize control again, but that's when the front door swung open with a loud bang. Two uniformed men stepped in, but these weren't local police. Their jackets read State Enforcement Division, and they carried clipboards instead of guns. The taller one spoke first. "Mr. Hayes, we're here for the scheduled review of protected shoreline access." Karen jumped in before I could answer. "Perfect timing. I'm reporting him for blocking public lake entry and violating building codes." "Write it down!" The shorter officer looked at her, puzzled. "And you are?" "I'm the HOA president," she said proudly, "and under HOA authority." The tall officer cut her off. "Ma'am, this is outside any HOA jurisdiction. This cabin sits on state-leased conservation land." Karen froze, her mouth hanging open. "What do you mean outside jurisdiction?" "We've been collecting fees from this area for years." I couldn't help but let out a short laugh. "You mean illegally collecting fees?" The attorney general took a slow step toward her. "You've been charging residents for property the state owns." "That's fraud, ma'am." Karen's voice cracked, but she doubled down. I have documents. The HOA voted on this." The shorter officer opened his clipboard, revealing a set of glossy aerial photographs, including one with Karen's name signed at the bottom of a fake territorial claim map. "We have these too," he said calmly. Her hands began to tremble, but she still tried one last desperate move. She pulled out her phone, muttered something under her breath, and dialed a number. "I'm calling the real police. You'll all see." The attorney general just glanced at me, his eyes glinting with the kind of confidence that told me he already knew what was about to happen, and it wasn't going to go her way. Karen paced in a tight circle, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, officer. Come to 214 Lakeview Point. There's a trespasser, and state people pretending to have authority." Her voice was sharp, but I could hear the faint edge of panic slipping in. The attorney general folded his arms and waited. The state enforcement officers didn't even move. They just exchanged a glance that said, "Let her dig her own grave." A few minutes later, the sound of sirens cut through the quiet lake air. Two county sheriff SUVs pulled up outside, tires crunching over the gravel driveway. Karen practically skipped toward the door, shouting, "Finally, arrest him." But the moment the sheriff stepped inside, his expression changed. "Hayes?" he said, spotting me. "What's going on here?" Before I could answer, Karen barged between us. "This man is illegally occupying a cabin and refusing HOA inspection. And these two," she jabbed a finger toward the state enforcement officers, are impersonating officials. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. Karen, did you just accuse the state attorney general of impersonating an official? She blinked, confused. Wait, what? The attorney general stepped forward, producing his badge with a slow, deliberate motion. It's authentic. And I believe we have reason to believe this woman has been committing ongoing fraud against residents in this area. Karen laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. The sheriff cut her off. Karen, I have complaints on file about you charging people fake fines. But I didn't know you were bold enough to try it on state property. Her smile faltered. I was told this was HOA territory. I leaned in, keeping my voice calm but firm. By who, Karen? Because whoever told you that might be the reason you're about to lose everything. For the first time since she'd stormed in, Karen didn't have a comeback. The attorney general gave me a small nod as if to say, now it gets interesting. Karen's hands twitched at her sides, her phone still halfway out like she wasn't sure whether to hang up or keep, pretending she had control. The sheriff took it from her gently but firmly, slipping it into his pocket. You won't be needing this right now, he said. The attorney general stepped closer, his tone quiet but razor sharp. Karen, we already have sworn statements from 3 other homeowners. They all say you threatened them with eviction if they didn't pay your special assessments. One man even sold his fishing boat to cover it. Karen's voice wavered. Those fees were for community improvements. The shorter state enforcement officer raised an eyebrow. Funny, we checked the HOA's bank account. Those improvements paid for your SUV and a trip to Cabo. Her face went pale. That's not true. I pulled a manila folder from under the coffee table and placed it on the counter. Want me to open it? Because this has every canceled check, every fake invoice, and even a recording of you telling my neighbor, pay or I'll have the sheriff remove you. Karen's eyes darted between all of us. You recorded me? I gave a slow smile. Not me. My dock security camera. The same one that's been live streaming this conversation to my private channel since you walked in. The sheriff glanced toward the corner, spotting the tiny, blinking red light of the camera. His jaw tightened. Well, that'll make the paperwork easy. Karen took a shaky step back toward the door, but the tall enforcement officer blocked her path. Not yet, ma'am. We still have one more thing to clear up. About the dock you tried to have dismantled last summer. Her head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing. You set me up. I just shrugged. No, Karen, you set yourself up. I just pressed record. The attorney general walked toward the window, looking out at the dock stretching into the calm lake. Funny thing about that dock, he said, his voice slow, measured. It's part of a state heritage easement. Removing it is a felony. Karen swallowed hard. No one told me that. I tilted my head. Really? Because I sent you an email last year with the state paperwork attached. You even replied noted. The shorter enforcement officer pulled out a printed copy of that exact email. Karen's bold signature at the bottom. You can deny a lot, ma'am, but your own words are hard to erase. Her breathing got quicker. This is insane. I was only trying to keep the community in order. The sheriff cut her off, his voice firm now. Community? Karen, you've been running a scam, and you walked straight into a meeting with the one person in the state who could shut you down permanently. The attorney general turned from the window and fixed his gaze on her. This isn't just about fraud anymore. You tried to obstruct a state, conservation agreement, and impersonate an authority figure. That's serious time. Karen's lips trembled, but instead of pleading, she smirked a desperate, broken smirk.